What's up, Los Angeles? What's up, Trojan family? Welcome to the USC LAFB show. I'm your host, Ryan Dyrud, back with you for another quick update. Thank you, as always, for making LAFB a part of your day. It means the world to me. Truly appreciate it. And excited to bring you year-round USC coverage. This team is fun to cover. It's a blast. Quick couple updates for you. We got 2 new coaching/personnel hires, and then a couple quick recruiting updates. So I like keeping these a little short, 15 to 20 minutes. Just kind of keep everyone in the loop. All this information always is found at lafbnetwork.com. So I put it in written form there. Want to give you video form here as well, or it's more just listening to me talk. But I appreciate those that enjoy doing that. So we'll keep that rolling. I'm going to have another video and more articles here in the coming tomorrow or day after. GM Chad Bowden sat down with media yesterday for like an hour. Tons of good stuff about his palate for recruiting, his passion for the role, his passion for USC, why the job was an absolute no-brainer for him to leave a good situation at Notre Dame, come to USC. His ideals on California recruiting, tons and tons of good stuff. So I'll have more on that. I'm sure myself, Coach, and Madman will talk about it tomorrow evening when we plan to record. So we'll have more on that, and look out on lafbnetwork.com for more on that, because it was pretty awesome, and he's just a home run hire. The more and more I hear Chad Bowden talk, and we got to see it in action, obviously, as is all things in life, but we did see it some in action. Notre Dame went to the national championship game. So having him now in the arsenal, in the weaponry of USC recruiting, man, guys, there's real things to be excited about. You know, every offseason it's like there's some hype, and it seems to be a letdown. I think this is really different. Not saying it's going to translate to a natty this year. Obviously, that's the hope. But I do truly believe that this hype, the smoke, is real. When you just look at the staff and you see what they're building, you see how they're building, you see the process, you hear the process, like it all just, it's so much more clear than it even was 6 months ago. And you can see how there was steps in the process all over the last kind of 2 to 3 years, whether people believed it or not, and it's finally kind of led up to this, and now you have all the pieces in place to implement and go accomplish and seize the goal. So get more in the Chad Bowden, but man, it just gets me more fired up. The dude is special. He's one of the best in the business. Hearing him say he wants to be at SC forever, obviously things can change, and it's a month on the job, but I think that's got to be exciting, because the special thing about USC versus some other programs, other programs have this as well, obviously, but USC is a special place, and it truly is, when it is what it should be, it is the pinnacle of not just college sports, but sports. Like, there's not much higher you can go. Like, yeah, if you want to go to the NFL just to say you've been to that level, sure. But in the real grand scheme, it's not a huge upgrade in terms of pay, in terms of recognizable, in terms of celebrity, in terms of all that. Obviously, you're coaching then professionals. But in terms of just what the job is, USC is one of the best in all of sports. So that's not even what I was going to talk about today. Show, as always, brought to you by our friends at BetOnline. Head to betonline.ag today. All the best money lines, game spreads. They got draft props, NFL draft props. Every sport you can think of. Dodgers, full swing in spring training. Lakers, hottest team in the NBA. The Kings, a potential Stanley Cup favorite. Trade deadline is just this Friday. See if the Kings make any moves to fortify that team. But all that can be done, all that wagering, all that fun can be done at betonline.ag. Tell them the LAFB network sent you. Quick on these coaching additions, if you will. On the weekend, added a veteran in the game, 35-plus year veteran coach John McDonnell, added as a senior offensive analyst. He spent last year at LSU, or last 2 years, excuse me, at LSU, was in the CFL before that as an offensive line coach. Spent time at other college universities, 35 plus years. So a long, long time in the business. And adding a senior offensive analyst, many probably hear that term a lot, but I'm sure wonder like what actually is that role. And the best way to put it is it's basically an assistant to the offensive staff that is not necessarily coaching on the field, but behind the scenes, breaking down film, putting together scouting footage, building strategy towards game scripts and plays. So it's really an extension of Lincoln Riley on offense, of what additional stuff they can do behind the scenes in the film room to add to that. So when you think of Jonah Hill in the great movie Moneyball, now he was a lot more on the personnel side, and McDonald's not going to be necessarily adding the personnel. That's Chad Bowden and his staff. But being that kind of behind the scenes, looking at the film like, okay, this is a player we can use in this situation. Oh, when we play Oregon, they're really good at this. Like, this is a play they call on 3rd and 1. This is a play they call on 4th and 1. Here's their most used, run play on 1st down. So he's the guy that's watching all this film when the rest of the coaching staff and whatnot is within the on the field and practicing in that, and then he's putting it all together for them to then go implement in practice and in the game. So another nice addition, tons of experience. We'll see what the relationship is like with the coaching staff, but I think another solid hire for the staff, especially when you look at just the analyst role and just the experience he brings with it. Then just today or yesterday, another hire. This is an interesting one. Joe D'Orazio hired as the director of football strategy and assistant running back coach. So not only a hybrid role, but it's a crossover within the front office and the coaching staff. And so the hire itself, I think he's a solid hire. Was with Baylor last year, so comes from a pretty pristine program. He was an offensive coordinator at Columbia, as well as a running back coach before that at Columbia, and then had stints in the NFL. He was an assistant to Andy Reid with the Chiefs, an assistant wide receivers coach with the Eagles. So certainly, I think a well-qualified hire for a really young guy that's going to come to the staff and learn and groom. But it's really interesting when you think about the fact that, he's a crossover from the front office. So he's going to be working under Chad Bowden with the rest of that staff as director of strategy, but also on the coaching staff as the assistant running back coach, working directly with Anthony Jones, the running back coach. And I think what this more symbolizes is this perfect synergy between the front office and the coaching staff. That they're not, yes, they're two entities, but it's all going to cross over. They're all going to work together. Yes, the coaching staff is actually the ones at practice, implementing, teaching, coaching. But in order for the coaches to do their job, they have to be fully on the same page with the front office in terms of what players they're going after, what resources they're allocated. And in order for the front office to fully do their job to their best ability, they need to have synergy from the coaches of, okay, what type of players do you want? What type of strategy do you want us to implement? Like, what do you need to be successful? And so having a personnel that is in both camps just creates that synergy, that lock. So I think this is another really exciting hire. It's showing again that with Jen Cohen at the helm, with Lincoln Riley, with Chad Bowden, just this forward thinking that this program has become versus what it was even a year ago. A lot of forward thinking, a lot of doing things ahead of their time. Whereas 2 years ago, we were like, man, is USC like behind the 8 ball? Like they're playing catch up, it feels like. And now they're officially making moves that make them feel like they're actually ahead of the time. So really exciting. And I think this is another great hire by Lincoln Riley and his staff. All right, quick recruiting update. One thing this class, and again, we got a lot of time. I mean, it's March, 4th time this recording. So we got a long way to go till December. But the one thing that this recruiting class so far is lacking is any offensive line commits. Lot are trending towards SC. I think new O-line coach, Zach Hansen, has done a fantastic job in his early recruiting stages, and I think this will end up being a really solid offensive line class. So excited to see him kind of close this class in over the next course of 6, 7, 8 months as the offensive line coach. But no commits yet. I zero room for concern, so I don't want anyone out there being concerned. But it is a position that obviously every year you want to have 2, 3, not 2. You want to have 3, 4, 5 offensive line commits every single class. So they will certainly look to add quite a few. Two names that have put USC in their top 8 that I wanted to quickly mention are Deacon Schmidt out of Colorado, my home state, out of Windsor, Colorado, and Tommy Tofi out of Sacramento, up in Northern Cal. Both 5-star offensive linemen. Schmidt is 4-star offensive lineman. Schmidt's offensive tackle. He's a 24th ranked tackle in the 26th class, according to On3 industry rankings. Second ranked prospect in the entire state of Colorado, actually. But just a big dude, 6'5", 310. At that size, he kind of has a little bit of versatility. Certainly, I believe he's big enough to play tackle, but may even be better suited to move inside. Nowadays in college football and the pros, you're seeing 6'6", 6'7", 6'8" as your kind of like premier tackles, but I mean 6'5" is plenty big, so he'd be fine, totally fine playing there. Obviously, I think he can put more weight on. He's entering his senior year of high school, so we'll certainly have plenty of time to put weight on. Definitely being recruited hard kind of by the Midwest. Nebraska, Oklahoma are schools going after him. Tennessee is another one that's in hot pursuit, but USC gets in that top 8, so certainly an opportunity here for the Trojans to close on one of the top tackles in this class. And then, as I mentioned, Tofi, 4-star, he's an interior offensive lineman out of Sacramento. He may even be suited to slide outside. His size, 6'7", 350. Mountain of a human being. Absolute mountain. 12th ranked interior offensive lineman, according to On3 industry rankings. 166th overall ranked player in the 26th class. Obviously, a lot of competition for his services. Per usual, with Cali kids, number one, I guess you can say, competition right now is Oregon. Oregon is in hot pursuit of getting Tofi, and USC and both schools are in his top 8. So USC and Zach Hansen will look to potentially close that down. Both these kids, Schmidt and Tofi, would be fantastic recruiting wins for USC, and one that we'll obviously continue to monitor closely here at LAFB and let you guys know. And there are other offensive line prospects that we'll get to and have plenty more coverage and articles and videos on. So make sure to keep it here at LAFB. But Deacon Schmidt and Tofi from NorCal, two that have USC in their top 8, and we could potentially see some commitments here soon, especially as official visits and whatnot get scheduled for these guys and getting them on campus. So those could be two big ones, 2 big 4-star guys to anchor this offensive line class, similar to how last year ended up with some big 4-star guys especially at the end there in Aaron Dunn and getting the kid out of North Carolina as well. So big opportunity, Alex Payne, that is. Lastly, want to mention Devon Benjamin, Cali kid from Corona, goes to Oaks Christian. He had been kind of trending, or at least prediction-wise, was always in favor SC, being a local kid and kind of SC's new commitment. Just this morning, or was it yesterday, just within the last 24 hours, On3 put out a new RPM for Oregon. Of course. It's going to be Oregon. That's the way it's going to go, guys. Not saying he's going to commit to Oregon. I mean, the competition is going to be Oregon with these Cali kids. So they are now the new favorite to land Benjamin. But the big news, tomorrow, Benjamin will actually be visiting USC as Doug Belk, Javon Reed, Lincoln Riley have another. This will be his 4th visit to USC. And I'm sure more will come. I don't think there's not necessarily a time of when he will announce his commitment. However, USC would love it if they could get him to commit while on campus. If they can do especially with this new staff with Chad Bowden and whatnot, that could be a big push to potentially get him. Now, if they do end up not getting him, not obviously the end of the world, as this is a deep defensive back class as it is, and USC already has RJ Sermon and Brandon Lockhart, two, top 10, 2 and 6 respectively, defensive backs in this entire class. Benjamin would be another top 5. I mean, it would be Brandon Arrington, they're trending to, who's the number 1 on industry rankings. Elbert Hill, who's more favored to stay in the Midwest and go to potentially Ohio State, but USC is certainly on the radar after a good visit. But you'd love to get Devon Benjamin, keep him home, local kid, and man, you think of R.J. Sermons, Devon Benjamin, Brandon Lockhart, Madden Riadora. If they can get Brandon Arrington, I mean, we're talking about a world-class defensive back 2026 recruiting class. Incredible. So, the latest is he's trending Oregon, but will be on USC's campus for a visit on Wednesday or Thursday of this week. So, not the last word, USC. There's still a lot of time potentially in his recruiting. But considering it just kind of flipped in Oregon's favor, it's very favorable that now he's going to be back on USC's campus, and maybe they can flip that narrative again and then just keep kind of building that relationship. So another one to monitor. We will keep you up on that. So that's really it. Those are the kind of quick updates here. We will be back again tomorrow night. The coach, the madman, talking all things. We'll probably get into Chad Bowden and his media time and all the stuff he said. A lot of great stuff. So thank you as always, everyone, for joining me, for hanging out and listening to these USC updates. I always appreciate it. Love all the feedback you guys give. It's fantastic. So it makes this offseason that much more fun and makes covering this team that much more fun. And I'm just hyped about where this program is headed. So if you have not already, please hit that like and subscribe button. If you've never been, USC LAFB is the YouTube channel. That's USC LAFB. Podcast or audio platform on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast, just search Salute to Troy. Or all of our USC coverage and all of our LA sports coverage can be found at lafbnetwork.com. As always, fight on.